Welcome to the Kidlit Club with Sally Rippon and Adrian Beck.
On this episode, Jude Rossell's our special guest. We get advice from Adam Wallace and James Hart, and Sally talks touring.
Welcome to another astounding episode of the Kidlit Club with Sally Rippon to my left.
And Adrian Beck to my right.
Yes, that's us. As you heard, we've got a huge show ahead for you today. But we are lucky to have Sally Rippon to my left. We're lucky to have Sally Rippon in the country because she's about to go overseas on a big tour.
Suitcases packed.
Yep.
Not so much a big tour. I'm going to speak at a big conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Right.
My publishers of the Billy and Jack series over there, who do tour me pretty regularly, have invited me to speak at their annual conference to introduce my new series to my American distributors, which is pretty exciting. So the publishing house has a lot of people that hand sell the books into schools and into libraries, and so there'll be a whole lot of people at this conference, and I'm going to introduce them to Polly and Buster.
To Polly and Buster for the first time.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's supposed to be a secret too, by the way.
Don't tell anyone. Especially if you're watching us from Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. You didn't hear anything.
No,
Yeah.
just pretend you heard nothing. Oh, that's very exciting. So that happens very soon.
Yeah, in a few days.
Great.
Yeah.
How exciting. Well, I thought, now not everyone who listens to this and watches this Kidlit Club episodes is an author, but they all have an interest in Kidlit stuff. And I was wondering if you could give us an insight. What is a author's tour like for those that might not know? Is it like a rock star where you go around trashing stuff and throwing TVs out of hotels? I can imagine you doing that, Sal, just getting a TV and launching it out into the yard. Is that what happens?
I'm in my hotel room with a cup of tea by about 9 p.m. watching bad TV, really. It's the old introvert-extrovert thing. It's exhausting.
Yes.
And so I tend to try to concentrate my tours into a short space of time, so that it is just all done in one go. So I do try to pace myself. But it does mean my evenings are usually pretty quiet. There's not much rock and roll happening in my hotel room, that's for sure.
Well, you do feel like a bit of a rock star when you hit the stage.
I have to say, when I travel overseas, it's always really special because you'll stay with people that want to show you their country, and so they're so proud. And so I always agree to do one other thing after doing lots and lots of school talks.
Yep.
And so, for example, last year I was in the US and it was around the time of Halloween. So I was able to go and explore some of the streets with the Halloween, kids all set up for Halloween. So that kind of thing is just beautiful because people are really proud of where they live. They want to introduce it to the foreigner. And the funny thing about touring the US is I just have to use my Australian accent and already the kids are mesmerised.
G'day, mate.
I know, they don't want to hear about my books, they just want to hear about crocs and koalas and snakes. It's true.
I love it.
And then I throw in a bit about my books.
That's good. In fact, I remember a picture you might have posted with you and a whole bunch of kids that were dressed up for Halloween.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that looked amazing.
There was this kid that had this incredible face makeup done that was like his skin was being zipped off. It was horrifying. Yeah. So I took a picture of him. Got permission, of course.
Of course.
Very big in getting the permission.
Well, have a great time on this wild author tour that we can only dream of. What happens on tour stays on tour with Sally Rippon.
Because that's wild. Yeah.
Now, one thing, I've got a care package for you, because one thing I do know about you is on tour, you like a certain treat. Now, everyone at home is thinking, I wonder what that is.
Have you been
Is it caviar? Or what would Sally like? Is it some sort of herbal tea?
Very exotic.
No, it's not quite that. It is your basic
It is totally.
caramel slice.
Yeah, bog standard.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the one. So,
Cheap, you know those really cheap kind of country town cafes?
Yes.
They do the best.
yes. What is it about the caramel slice that gets you through your tours, Sal?
It's the sugar hit.
Yes.
So about 2 in the afternoon when you talked to maybe a couple of hundred kids, you've got one more session to get through and you need that ultimate sugar hit. You go past the caramel chocolate slice and a strong coffee and that'll see me through to bedtime.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So that is an insight into an author
Thanks,
tour.
Adrian.
You can take that. I don't know how it'll survive on the plane, but best of luck with
Do you think it's going to last that long?
You're not. The caramel slice is the key to a good tour.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Right.
All right, now it's time for this.
Author advice.
Yes, it's time for some author advice. Very popular segment of the Kid Lit Club, because where would we be without some advice?
We all need advice.
We all need advice. Some of us more so than others.
Yes, like caramel slices on tour.
Yes, good advice. Some more good advice can be found from our friends Adam Wallace and James Hart. I had a chat with them recently, and I asked them for the best advice they've ever received and the best advice they could give. Here they are. Well, I've ducked out to catch up with my mates Adam Wallace and James Hart for some author advice. So they're going to tell us the best piece of advice they ever received, and in turn they're going to give the best advice they can think of. Okay, so maybe we'll go with Adam first.
Okay.
Adam, what was the best piece of advice, author advice you ever received?
Okay, best advice I got was from Andy Griffiths, name drop.
Yeah.
It was lovely actually, because he'd sort of said it took him 10 years to really hit big time sort of thing, and I'd said, well, I'm 10 years and it hasn't happened. He's like, everybody's 10 years is different, and it's like, it's going to be different for everyone. Some people, their first book's going to go huge. Some people, as James says, you're not ready then, like, even if it goes huge, you may not be ready, and so you can't follow up. So that just sort of gave me the idea that I can just keep going with what I'm doing, and it will happen. And keep it. And he also said, just work on your craft so that just get your writing the best it can be, because then you're going to get noticed. So just keep working, and your 10 years will happen when it happens. So yes, that was fantastic. That was really good advice.
Absolutely. What about you, James? Best advice you ever got?
Okay, draw good. Draw gooder. Draw gooder.
The bestest.
Yeah, and learn to talk properly. Okay, so I did like a course with Steven Silver, who's a character designer in America.
Okay.
And he had some advice that he got from someone else that he sort of passed on to everyone, and I picked up on it too. I guess it's advice, but he said, "Why not me?" Like, and I'm like, yeah, why not me? Like, we're all people, and just because someone else is doing something amazing doesn't mean that you can't.
Okay.
And it's it's not because they're special. It's because they've worked hard and they've been patient and they've been persistent in what they're doing, and you can do stuff. So that really hit into me pretty hard. Like, I'm like, yeah, I could try and do that too. So
That's great advice, because sometimes you do think, well, it's never going to happen to me. But why can't it happen to you? That's great advice.
But a lot of people say, like, follow your dream and believe in yourself, which is good advice and bad advice, because you can do all that, but if you don't do it without the hard work, it's not going to go anywhere. I think it's like dreams without execution is just visual, something like that. I can't remember the actual quote, but
it's a good one.
It's a good one. I'll get back to you on that one.
We might put the quote up on the bottom of the screen.
This is what James really meant.
Great. And we've got the best advice you guys have received. Now I want to hear the best advice you would give authors, either established authors or authors that are emerging. What would be the best advice you'd give them?
Me first?
Yep, you go first.
Adam. All the pressure's on you.
You can do it.
Okay, can I?
You can do it.
Why not me? Look, I would say there's sayings like write what you know.
Yes.
So the best advice I could give is write what you love, because I know how to sit in a chair. If I wrote a story about that,
That's through love it.
it's a bit hard. I've got a bit of a bony butt, so I just kind of dig it in.
Or clean a toilet.
Clean a toilet. That's right, you can do that, but it's not that interesting. But if you write what you love, you're going to get excited about it while you're writing it. And I actually believe that the energy you write with or draw with goes into the book and comes out, like it sort of transfers to the reader. And if you can write with that energy of, not everyone loves vampires, but if you do, write about vampires. Whereas if you don't, it's going to feel a bit stilted, I think. So I think just that idea of just write what you enjoy. And again, that's sort of the lesson I learned from year 12. Like, just write what you enjoy, and it's going to be better energy than if it's not.
That's great advice, because I think sometimes you're tempted to follow the market.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you're tempted to see what else is working and think, well, could I do my spin on that? But I think that's great advice. Write something that it's really important to you and really connect with, and hopefully, as you say, it'll shine through.
Yeah, and the market moves quicker than the publishing world. Like books can take 2 years to come out, and that might be done in 6 months. And so you've written what you think you should write, and then it's too late.
It's all over.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Okay, and now we turn our attention to James for the best advice James would give.
Draw Goodera. No, use your words. Use your words, Goodera. Okay, so to be better, but also that encompasses like never give up. So I think it was Winston Churchill said like never, 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 never give up. Like, and it's true. Like it's persistence again, and don't give up. And by not giving up, you're going to practice more as well.
Yep.
So
you get better.
Just keep getting better and better by practicing, and then you'll be ready. When the time's right, you'll be ready because you haven't given up. So,
So practice, and the time will come.
Yep.
Great advice. Thank you very much, boys. The latest series Cowboy and Bird Brain is out now. It is amazing. It's a lot of fun, and kids really love it. Thank you very much for giving us some author advice, boys.
thank
Pleasure.
you.
Good on you.
Oh, that's some interesting advice there. 10 years.
A lot of people get advice from Andy. it
They
seems.
do, yeah. 10 years it takes, or around about 10 years to make your mark in the industry. So that's interesting. And I like James saying, why not me? Why can't it be you?
It's a good point, actually.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because so many of us can just get so racked with doubt that we don't even try.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But it could be you.
could be. But start writing.
Let's get into it. Okay, now it's time for this.
Our special guest. And this time it's author, illustrator extraordinaire, Jude Russell.
Hi, Sally Rippon for the Kidlit Club with Judith Russell, who is an author and an illustrator. But interestingly, I noticed on your website when I was looking into a little bit of information, you write illustrator, author. So I wonder if maybe we could start with that, because you spent a lot of time illustrating before you wrote.
Yes,
Do you still feel more of an illustrator?
I think I do. Although maybe I have to come to terms with that. I'm
That
more
you've
of a
written a
writer.
couple of books.
But I think being an illustrator is just a bit cooler.
Oh, how is it cool? Because I guess the thing about being an illustrator, because I did a lot more illustration than I do now, is less people draw, whereas everybody writes, and so writing potentially feels like something accessible. A lot of people write stories in their own time, poetry, that kind of thing, but very few people keep on drawing as they grow up. So
Yes.
is that what you think is the appeal of being an illustrator? Feels cooler?
I think it could be. I think it actually might be partly school related. You know, at school, if you wrote stories, you're just a big school nerd.
But drawing's cool.
But drawing's cool because
Yeah.
it's not a school thing.
Yeah, okay. And
Possibly.
one of the conversations I've had with you in the past that I really love to chat with you about is the idea of the fact that we all draw when we're young. I mean, all children, you hand them a crayon and a piece of paper and they're going to draw and they don't worry about what the outcome is. And then there is something about schooling, or at least getting older, that stops people drawing. So why do you think that is the case, and why didn't you stop?
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? Because if I go into, you'll have had this experience too, you go into a primary school class and you say, who likes to draw? And you get every hand up.
Yeah.
And they slowly get less as the kids get older. So by grade 6, you get most of the hands up. But you wouldn't even ask that question in high school, would you? Who likes to draw?
No, because they'd almost feel like,
Yeah.
really? And what is it about it? Is it that people don't think that drawing is something serious, or that's something that you can use later in life, or too specific for a type of job?
I don't really know what it is. I think that one problem is that people have the idea that it's one of those skills you either have or you don't have. And I think that's really unfortunate, because like everything else, you can get better. And most adults draw about as well as a 10-year-old, because that's the age most people stop drawing.
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
And I think even if I'm saying to kids, it's all about practice, it's all about, if you would like to be good at drawing, practice and you'll get better and you'll be good when you're a grown up. There'll always be a teacher saying, oh, I'd like to draw, but I just can't.
And do you get them drawing in the workshops? You must. So everyone in the room drawing, including the teachers.
Wow, it's good when they do. I really like it when they do.
Yeah.
But I think there's that sort of sense of, also, if the drawing is not great, straight away people get
Disheartened really
disheartened.
quickly.
But I always say it's like sitting down at the piano, isn't it? Imagine you've never played the piano and you sit down and you just bash with your hands and go, oh, that's not a tune, clearly I'm not musical. I can never play an instrument. Whereas, of course, we know you have to practice. I went to school in the 70s and 80s, in
Like
the time
me.
of the hippies, in a hippie-ish area. And
You grew up in Eltham, didn't
Yes,
you?
in Eltham. And so our teachers, I did very badly in art at school.
Really?
Yes. Astonishing. Well, not
Wow.
astonishingly badly, but I guess astonishing if you end up being an illustrator. And I wasn't allowed to continue into year 12 with
You
art.
weren't allowed to do art?
I wasn't good enough.
The school or the parents?
The school.
Right. Wow.
But I mean, one of the things was I was interested in learning to draw. I think that's what I think. That's probably what I was interested in.
The technical side of
And
it.
I loved it. I loved art. But our art teachers were all about the expression. So they'd say, don't draw what the... I remember we were having an art camp in the bush. That was a trial. Anyway, and we had to sit beside this river and draw the river, and I was trying to draw the river. And the teachers... I remember him saying to me, don't draw the water, draw what you feel about the water.
Yeah, okay.
And I was still in that level of wanting to learn how to draw the water and also avoid the leeches. I was holding the drawing board like this, and there were leeches.
On the drawing board?
On the drawing
Gross.
board.
Yeah, that would put you off. You worked as a scientist
I did
for a
work
while?
as a scientist.
Can
I
you
studied...
tell us about that?
Well, I was thinking about it the other day, and I think that as kids, the reason I was allowed to do art really is because I was on a scholarship.
Yes.
And the reason for scholarship children is really to get the school's pass mark
Okay.
up a bit.
Right.
So I got good marks in science and maths. And so the school wanted me to do that, which is fine. I mean, I could have fought, I guess.
But, you were all of 16 or something.
What do I know?
Okay.
And I think as well as a kid, the thing that's interesting, isn't it? This idea of when you're good at something, that feels like the thing you should be doing. So I was actually very good at chemistry. Tip-top marks in chemistry.
Right.
And I studied textiles and chemistry and worked as a scientist in the CSIRO division of wool technology for about 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, right.
Or so.
And were you drawing or writing at home in secret?
Yes, drawing in secret. Very much drawing in secret.
Okay. And so what helped you make that leap then? Because obviously you were in a career that could have kept on going in that direction. You enjoyed the work, I
did.
imagine.
Yeah, I liked it.
And so did you do both for a little while, or
I did
how
both.
did you
I
get
did
into
both for a little while, and I did a little bit of illustration on the side. Not enough to live off, but little jobs here and there. I did all kinds of things. I did had a comic strip in the paper in Sydney for a while.
Really?
Yeah,
like a grown-up comic strip?
Yeah,
I'm
well, sort of.
impressed. Yeah.
I went to look for it. I had an exhibition recently, and I had tried to find some old artwork, and I went to find. I couldn't find it online, which I'm actually really pleased about because I think it was really bad.
We had to start somewhere, don't we?
It was terrible. I'm kind of pleased that if I can't find it, hopefully no one can find it.
Right. Yeah.
And things like labels for. I did the label for Darryl Lee's chocolate smileys. They're a bit like Smarties.
Is that still around?
No.
So did you then? So we've leapt. So you're working as a scientist during the day, secretly drawing at night.
Doing that sort of work.
But did you do any studied like graphic design? 'Cause labeling, surely there's got to be.
You'd think so.
Yeah. You obviously were getting paid to do it. That's pretty
Well,
good.
it's funny, isn't it? Because I think back then, this is pre-internet or before the internet was useful.
Before it was useful.
Well, when you just...
Yeah.
So when people would say, can you do a label drawing? And you'd be like, yeah,
I'll give it a shot.
I guess. I don't know what's involved, and there's no way of finding out,
But
is there?
how were they asking you? Because you were doing this in secret. How did they know?
Oh, I'd send them little pictures.
Okay, so you were looking out for illustration
Yeah, I was
work.
picking companies that I like.
Yeah,
And
great.
I'd send them, can I draw you a drawing sort of thing?
Yeah.
And I did a lot of work for Alan's Music, who used to publish music books and things like that.
Okay, and what was the first book you had published then?
Well, it would have been for Alan's Music.
Okay.
And it would have been about 30 years ago.
Wow.
And it would be like, I think it was a book of oboe tunes or something, and I
Right.
just wanted a cover.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
That's
And then you did a lot of maze books and activity books.
That's right.
Things that require a lot of fine detail. So in a sense, from what I see from your artwork, there is something quite scientific about your drawings anyway, because there is a way that you're breaking down the world and you're reconstructing it in line, in a sense. Do you think having that quite scientific brain creates a kind of illustration style?
It's interesting. I never really thought of that.
It's not a wishy-washy kind of
But
experiment.
I think that's a confidence thing. Like I am
Right.
very unconfident
Right.
about the artwork because when I think that people who do a lovely loose style have this kind of confidence which I envy.
Right.
This thing of being able to just whip something out is what it looks like.
Yeah.
With lovely action and movement. Whereas I'm more like,
Whereas I look at things like this, you know, the drawings of all the detail in that, and I just don't even know how I could get a pencil that sharp. So you have some illustrations here to show us, and in fact, what I might start with, because you began as a picture book illustrator. This is a lovely one that was written by Margaret Wilde, Bog Trotter. And I think you've got a little dummy book here. Would you like to talk us through that?
Oh, here's the dummy book of
Do you
Bog
take
Trotter.
that into school?
I do. Actually, the reason Bog Trotter is here is because I take him into schools quite a lot. He's fun to draw.
Yeah, he's
Because
kind of a
he's-
hairy avocado, I
He's
remember.
an avocado, yeah. So I take him and I show the kids how Bog Trotter is basically an avocado, if you can see. And I often take an actual avocado in to demonstrate that. And this was a fun job for me. Bog Trotter lives in a bog and runs around in the bog. And so I take this into schools to show the kids. So these are Margaret Wilde's words, which I stick on with glue.
And where did you get this book from? Did you make it up? Or
I made
it's
this
just
one.
Yeah, great.
And I draw in with pencil what would be on each page. And I talk about how the story gets planned out like this. I always find making roughs really hard, actually.
Why is that?
I think just all that hard thinking.
Well, that's almost the composing time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas the other part of it's colouring in.
The colouring in, yeah. I quite like the
fun
colouring
part.
in because I tend to do it at home watching movies and, you know.
You've got the brain stuff out the way, and
That's
you just
right.
yeah.
But I think too, when you're doing a roughs, you know when you're getting it right or when you're getting it wrong, and then you could draw it all again.
And do you have any tips around that? Because I know when I've done a rough, if I hold it up to a mirror,
Oh,
I can
yes.
tell if it's drawn wonky. Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely do that.
Yeah.
I never used to make up dummy books, but now I always do because I think there's something about turning the pages and seeing how the story works page by page.
And you're doing them pretty much the size it's going to turn out as.
Yes,
as
so
well,
I
aren't you?
always say to that to the kids. I say, look, it's exactly the same size, and you can see it entirely isn't.
So you've done a lot of illustrations for other people.
Yes.
And this came out 4 years ago now, Withering by
4 or 5,
Sea.
yeah, 4 or 5.
But I imagine you were working on it for quite a long time
Yes.
before it got published.
That's true.
And you didn't jump in lightly. I mean, it's not like you decided to write something very small or just a very, you went... I'm assuming this is the first book that you've written, or had you done some picture books before that?
I did a couple of picture books and a couple of actually shorter junior novels, much
That's
shorter.
right, you did. You did the pirate.
There's a pirate one.
Yeah, that's right. I do forget. So you had kind of warmed into it a little
Yeah,
bit, but
and-
then still going into Stella Montgomery is quite a big leap because it's a
think-
very dense novel.
I
There's
think
a
I
lot
assumed
going on.
I'd write picture books like
Right.
illustrators do.
Yeah.
And I think that just isn't the age group for me to
Mm-hmm.
write for. I find it...
It's tricky writing a picture book text. I think
Yeah.
it's so much harder than it actually looks.
And I thought maybe that, that junior fiction, like that sort of
Like the Aussie Bite
7 to
kind of
10
thing.
might
Oh, okay.
be the thing.
Yep.
Like quite illustrated, but
Yep.
short. But a publisher told me early on that she reckons that everyone has an age they write well for. Mm-hmm. And definitely for me, it's that 9 to 12, that middle grade.
Yeah.
That seems to be that's where all my ideas seem to end up.
Yeah. So coming up with the ideas. So that's because so I'm going to find the original Australian edition. So it's set in Victorian England.
It's actually this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've got the wrong one here. Oh, I've got one.
They look the
I haven't
same.
got my glasses.
They look the
on.
same. They look a bit too much the same.
Sorry, no. It's literally because I don't have my glasses on. I can't see a thing. So Withering by Sea, set in Victorian England.
That's right. Sort of pretendy.
Yeah,
Pretendy Victorian.
It is almost like an invented version of Victorian England. Stella Montgomery is an orphan who lives with these atrocious, very controlling aunts.
They're very mean to her.
They're very mean to her. So this is obviously not the world that we live in now. What was the appeal about setting a book in Victorian England? Was it based on the books that you used to love? I mean, it was a little bit Secret Garden-y for me when I was first reading it, that kind of feel of the oldie worldy and the children in petticoats and that kind of thing. So why did you decide to set it in Victorian England?
I do love that Victorian era. I mean, it's so interesting and intriguing, and I've read a lot of books. A lot of the books I love are in that time. And
Can you give us some examples?
Oh, like the early Sherlock Holmes stories, for example.
Right.
I really like Wilkie Collins. I had this edition of the Sherlock Holmes stories, which I loved, and all the pictures were really dark. Like you could just see part of a face or part of a hand, and otherwise it's just black. And it was a reproduction of the original ones from the Strand magazine, so they had this original Victorian artwork in it. But and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. It's so atmospheric. But it turned out I just have a really bad reproduction.
So there are better ones.
The actual artwork is quite clear and bright. But there's something about that darkness that really appealed to me. And I think that if you're writing a story about orphans and wanting to send your characters on really quite scary adventures, you have to put a lot of work in if you're going to set it now. Because we look after our children.
That's right. We're not allowed to beat them anymore.
If I take my nephews into the city, I spend my whole time making sure they don't have a scary adventure.
Yeah, or run away and...
No, climbing on that. Get out of the water. Stop it.
You're barely allowed to have an icy pole these days.
That's right. That's right. And I hang on to them all the time. And that's what good adults do. But if you set your story in Victorian times, the kids would be expected to go out to work at 12 or whatever. And so you've got more leeway.
And so Stella Montgomery, she's about 9 years old from memory, or a little bit older.
A little bit older, maybe 11.
11,
I don't actually say, but I think
11. Yeah. And so how did you come up with this character? Because this is the first time that you've come up with a character that is built from words, I guess, not so much from illustrations. Did you start by drawing her, or did she come to you as a story?
It's funny, Stella, of all the things in the story, Stella was probably the easiest. She's just basically me, I guess, but with a couple of really good qualities which I admire. So it was just like Stella's always kind and she's always brave, and this makes her quite easy to motivate. So you can get her to promise to help someone, or there's a scary thing that she's too frightened to do, and she'll do it, or she'll follow through. She's that sort of person.
And that's what kids respond to, isn't it? Because just a little while before we started the recording, we were talking about one of my close friends, and I interviewed her for the Kidlit Club recently, is the principal at Flemington Primary, and they're obsessed with your books, which is adorable, but also really interesting to me, because a lot of these children are refugee children. They certainly, a lot of them haven't grown up reading, and it's not, this is a book that takes a level of commitment. And you were saying that there are some kids that write to you and say how much they identify with Stella, even though it's set in Victorian times. So it must be that it's almost aspirational, isn't it? That if I were put in this circumstance, how would I act? And would I be as brave as Stella, or would I be as kind as Stella? Do you think that's what kids relate to?
I think it is. It's interesting, isn't it? I had one girl write to me and say that she had so much in common with Stella, which I found fabulous. But she also said that Stella inspired her to cope with a situation with some mean boys at school. So she said Stella has always tried her best and was brave, even when the aunts were mean to her. And in the same way, the writer was telling me that she was doing that with some mean boys at school. And I think I just love the idea that that the book could encourage someone to be brave in that. And isn't that just fabulous?
That's really lovely. And we do talk a lot when we are talking about writing for children about how children are aspirational readers, how they like to read up. But I think we often forget it's not just reading up as in age, but it's reading outwards in experience, that they want to read about what it's like to be your best self. And that's what Stella's putting forward, isn't it? And how many years did you spend writing the first book, at least, creating the world?
Look, it could have been because I was illustrating picture books at the time. This was like a side project. So it could have been 4 years or something.
Yeah.
And I mean, with me putting that aside and not doing anything to it for months at a time.
Because you're also just making a lot of decisions about the world that then you're going to set the story. And so then with book 2 and book 3, you had deadlines. How did you go with that?
I'm actually really happy this is finished. I did find the whole process really difficult, and in some ways more pressure for the second and third ones than the first one.
Because the first one had done so well.
And also, no one was ever going to read the first one. So that made it much easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's a comfort in a way to think that no one will read it.
Well, yeah, I guess in a sense,
But if the first one's done well,
you
you
know.
know someone will read the second one and probably be disappointed.
Yeah,
by
I remember
it.
somebody saying to me, you only get your first book for free. There is this sense that after that, there's always someone waiting on it, whether it's a publisher or a reader or...
And I mean, kids, once they love a book, they want the next book. And I mean, you must have had this experience too, but people will write to you within a week of the book coming out saying, when's the next one? And you're like, what?
Just got the first one out.
But it's been really interesting. I've learned a lot about writing from writing the books. And I think that thing of the best way to learn how to write a book is to write a book, is the
Yeah.
right advice, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
until you wrestle with the actual problems that arise.
Yeah,
yourself.
and it's actually doing the writing that makes you a better writer. So the worst thing you can ever ask a woman who's just had a baby is when you're going to have another baby again. Do you think you'll ever write again?
Yes.
There's been enough time passed.
Yes, look, I should probably... I have got an idea for another book, and I should probably be a little further along the track than I am.
So have you got a contract for that, or that's just... Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you can still give yourself some freedom.
I had an interesting thing happen actually, which is my lovely publisher, who I adore, has gone on maternity leave, and my agent in America, who has been great, has decided to not be an agent anymore, and she's quit.
So nobody's hanging
No
over you
one's-
saying,
no
when's your
one's-
book coming in?
No one's at all interested, so it's kind of relaxing for me. I appreciate that the drive should come from within and not from other people, but it does make life... Oh, and then the editor who worked on these books, who potentially could hassle me, has also gone on maternity leave.
So when they're all back in the office,
yeah,
they're all going to be
perhaps
sending you emails and saying, where's your book?
I don't know, maybe. I mean, they don't know. I'm not, for me, I'm always trying to do things to reduce the pressure, because I do get very stressy. So one thing is to not tell them I'm trying to write a book.
So would you say one of the things that you do to reduce the pressure is spend a little bit of time making little houses?
I do. This is what I do.
Can you tell me a little bit about this project? Because if you're interested to see some of Jude's little houses, you put pictures up pretty regularly on social media.
I'm building a new one at the moment.
My favourite one, so I'll get you to tell us about this one, but the favourite one that I've seen so far is the student house.
Oh, yeah,
with the tiny little garbage bins with little overflowing beer cans, things like that. It's so cool. But tell us about this one that you brought with you
It's probably
today.
some sort of weird control thing. I was in a school and one of the kids actually asked me, why do you like drawing? And I'm like, well, I mean, the primary school kids, so I don't go into my personal psychological issues, but I do think it's a sort of a control thing. Like you're making a world and you're in charge of this world, even if everything else is. Yeah, I do like miniatures. It's true. So this one's come to visit because it's the smallest. It's a beach house.
Does it open the door?
It doesn't. It's hollow inside. This one. It's got nothing in. I mean, it's just it's what you can see, and it's made out of some sticks I found on the beach, and some icy pole sticks, and. It has no purpose.
And so does
all.
this take you a long time? Is this quite a meditative thing that you do?
I do really like building little houses. It's funny. I sometimes I have more, but I tend to give them away. I get bored of them.
Is there anything that you can tell us about that you have coming out soon that's not going to put pressure on you?
Actually, it's been fun. I've just finished a book for an American publisher, which is a board book. Novelty board book for toddlers, which is a new kind of idea for me, and it's going to be it's a flat book, and you have a plate and you put different food on the plate.
Oh, okay, so that's
I feel like it's
interesting
going to make my fortune.
As an illustrator. So you'd have a paper engineer working with you. Is that what they're called? Or someone that's going to explain to you which bits you need to illustrate? You're not constructing it yourself, are you?
No, I mean it's not a particularly complicated one, but it did take special work from the publisher to cost it all.
Yeah.
And it's got die cuts in it, which I've never had before.
You do quite a lot of work for overseas publishers as well, don't you?
I do some, yeah.
Yeah.
And this one, this was an idea I had. Look, this is maybe 3-4 years ago, and I thought it was great. I thought it was going to make my fortune, and so did my agent. We both thought it was going to make us rich, but it turned out to be quite a difficult sell.
Okay.
I think perhaps because of the costing. Anyway, I've just finished that, and I was saying to you before, I did it all on my iPad.
Yeah, so there are
it's
more and more
digital.
illustrators out there drawing on Procreate, and you're really enjoying that. at
I
the
am
moment. Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does feel like drawing because you draw straight on the screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've done that and I'm doing another picture book, just drawing the pictures for a picture book. But what I should be doing is probably writing something.
So we think that sometime in the future there will be another novel for 7 to 10-year-olds.
Yes.
Will it be a standalone or a series, or it's hard to know at this stage?
It's hard to know. I mean, just the thought of writing another series.
The commitment, isn't it?
Hard. But yes, I definitely should be. I was talking to an agent on the Skyping an agent, and she was saying that that's definitely what I should be doing, and I think she's right. Yes.
Cool. So for people just starting out, because we have some established writers and we also have some emerging writers, do you think it's important to have an agent? Is that something that's been helpful for you, or do you think it depends if you've got work overseas? Or
I don't think it's essential. And most of my career I haven't had an agent. Yeah, I'm in two minds as to whether to.
we'll bring up our mascot.
He's so cute, isn't it? Look at this.
He's just eaten a whole cookbook in the time we've been chatting.
Was that tasty?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in two minds about the agent thing. I liked my agent a lot, and if she was still being an agent, she would still be my agent. But I have to decide whether to try and find a new one.
Yeah.
Or...
Okay.
But one thing is, until I write something,
There's no point.
Nothing to offer them anyway. So
Great. Well, hopefully we will see something from you soon-ish without putting any pressure on you. I know you hate people saying that too. But certainly the Stella Montgomery series has been amazing. Children love it. And it'll be really interesting to see what you turn your skills to next. Thank you.
thank you. Thanks, Sally. Thank you. Hi. Bye.
Thank you, Sal. Another great interview there. Loved it.
Thank you.
And we just have enough time to finish up the episode with a giveaway of Kenzie and Max 3 from our great friend Jacqueline Harvey. She's obviously a superstar, and this is Kenzie and Max 3 about twin spies, Kenzie and Max. And in this edition, they go to Australia. So they have to infiltrate a private school in Australia, which is very, very interesting. Very funny, lots of action. Great series for kids.
Yes.
And there are 2 copies up for grabs. All you have to do to enter, if this sounds like something that kids in your life might like, comment on this episode's video with the answer to the following questions, Sally.
All right. So if you are an author or a wannabe author, what would be in your rock and roll rider when you are on tour? What,
Caramel slice?
yes. Or a bath of Moe?
Well, it's up to you. You decide, because you've got to impress us. It's a game of skill. So we want to see what would be in your rock and roll rider if you were an author on tour. That'd be great. And winners will be revealed Friday. Awesome. We'll have a great time on tour, Sal.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make sure you get us a snow globe or one of those little spoons with a little picture of Ohio.
nice.
That'd be nice. Thank
At
you.
least a t-shirt.
Oh yeah. Sally Rippon went to Ohio and all I got was this t-shirt. That's what I'll be wearing next time.
I'll print it up for you.
Thank you. All right, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.